Mom, how long is this gonna take?
Not now.
Austin, come on. Okay.
Savannah?
Oh, I can sit by him. I can sit by him. Oh my hand. Ow.
Okay, now sit still. My name is Shirley. This is my husband, Nick. Our oldest daughter, Ashley. Middle daughter, Savannah. And Austin.
I was raised in a Pentecostal Baptist atmosphere. Got saved when I was 16 at a youth revival in Turner Falls, Oklahoma. And enlisted in the military when I was 19.
I was raised Catholic and went to church for a while with my parents. And then they pulled away a little bit from the church, so I did as well. And then I joined the military when I was 18, and that's where I met Nick. So Nick and I got married when we were both in the military, and we lived in Mississippi for about 4 years. We completed our service there, and then we moved back here to Pennsylvania, which is originally where I was raised. And he tried a lot to teach me about the Bible, since he had more of a background with studying the Bible than I did. But we kind of hit a roadblock because he didn't understand Catholicism, and I just didn't understand enough about the Bible, so it was hard for him to teach me.
So I tried to convince her for a couple of years to buy a Jeep.
It's been a really time.
And just so happens I got my money and I bought a Jeep. And being that we got a Jeep, we started getting into the Jeep clubs and the off-roading event, and one thing led to another. We started hanging around with a lot of different types of people. There's lots of them. But we met Dan and Barb on the trail ride at Big.
And that's when Dan and Barb suggested going to Keystone Church with them.
I was kind of nervous because I didn't know anybody there, but I was kind of happy too because my people were being nice to me.
I thought it was going to be a little different because when we first pulled up to it, was smaller than the church we went to. And I was pretty nervous because I just really didn't know anything at that time when we changed, so I didn't know what I was going to learn or how the people were going to be there.
But the first day that we came home from Keystone, they could tell us what they had learned. They had made new friends, and they could tell us their names, and they were so happy.
We attended there for about 4 or 5 weeks. We were still kind of new to the church, I felt. At that point, I didn't call it my church. I always referred it to as y'all's church. So, I mean, it's not that they didn't make me feel welcome. It's just I didn't know if we were going to stay there just because of her situation with that being a lot different, me being a lot different than the style of church. So we wasn't for sure. I mean, we wanted to, but I wasn't for sure. We all had a Valentine's Day dinner, and it was an open dinner. Just invite your friends and family and stuff. And we decided we had something going on that night, didn't we? And we changed it. We had an off-road event, and we changed it.
We decided to go because I think it was Nate that asked if we would be one of the couples in one of the games because we were new. And
the newlywed game.
The newlywed game. And so we did go to the banquet. And so we played the newlywed game. And one of the questions was, it was something along the lines of what talent does, or what is something that your husband does
that nobody knows.
Yeah, that nobody knows.
Well.
And and I said he plays guitar and he sings, and everyone was like, oh, really? And everybody was so excited. And then Nick came back into the room and Nate said, we're gonna have to talk.
So we decided, I talked to Nate a little bit about it, and he was telling me about, some of that they, that they wanted to have maybe a little jam session at the church, because we had another musician actually, I guess, came out at that point at the Valentine's banquet. We went up to the church. I think it was the very first time I've been up there and played in front of everybody. We were practicing. You weren't supposed to come up.
And I did.
At that point, yeah, because I brought the kids up because you were at work and you were going to go do something, grocery shop or something. And she just decided she was going to come up to the church and hang out with us for a little bit. And usually when I play, she don't stick around long. So it was kind of out of the ordinary. And well, you came up and of course started talking to Pastor Tom.
I was just telling Tom about, some differences that Nick and I had, and asking him questions, and, Nick and I had talked about like baptism and things like that, and I was looking for rules and regulations and how things are supposed to happen in certain sequence, because that's what I've always known. And Tom said, there's no rules like that. There's nothing like that. There's not all these traditions that you have to follow, and there's not all these rules that you have to go through to get where you need to with God. And I said, oh, okay. He said, and he asked me the question. He said, do you think you're going to go to heaven? And I said, I think so. I said, I think that I'm a pretty good person. I try to do a lot of good things, and I try to do right, and I think I'm going to go to heaven. And he said, well, you know that you don't have to think. You can know for sure. And I said, okay. And he said, let's go in my office and talk. And that's what we did. And he showed me some different passages in the Bible, and showed me that I didn't have to wonder, and I didn't have to worry whether or not I was going to go to heaven, because Jesus had died on the cross for me, and my salvation was there waiting for me, and I just needed to accept that, and I didn't have to go through every day worrying and wondering if I was good enough to make it to heaven. So that night in February, I had been saved. And so we came home, and Nick and I talked about it a lot, and we started talking to the kids about it. Our main goal with everything is to make sure that we taught our kids well, that we taught our children to know God and to understand everything that they needed to know. And so we spent a lot of time talking with the kids about God and Jesus and being saved, and just all the stories of the Bible that I missed, that I didn't get to know. I wanted to make sure that my kids knew all of those things that I missed. I wanted to make sure they didn't have to go through years and years of worrying and wondering if they were good enough to get to heaven.
I told my mom and dad that I thought that I should get saved soon, and so I could get baptized, and I would be sure that I could go to heaven.
We told her that we would talk to Pastor Nate about it, and we asked her if she wanted to do it right now at home, or if she wanted to talk to Nate first, and she said that she wanted to talk to him.
I've kept on putting it off that I didn't want to get saved because I just didn't feel like it was the right time. And then after I heard that my sister was getting saved and how my mom started talking about it a little bit more, I decided that it was the right time. Just in case if something happened, and I just ended up not, making it, and I felt that if I did get saved, then I knew I was going to go to heaven, and so I decided to that Sunday after church.
So Austin was there as well that day as we talked to the girls, and we asked him.
He said he was wanting to be saved.
He said that he wanted to be saved.
But the reason was so he can get baptized. Because he wanted to swim.
He wanted to swim.
So I think we all decided he wasn't quite ready yet. So.
Although he did understand what it meant to be saved. He did understand that. I think that day he was more worried about getting to go swimming.
We decided we wanted to get baptized again.
Nate was talking to us about it.
Yes, and we felt that
about doing it all together.
Which was apparently a feat itself.
It was really cool. So we decided that Nick and I had already known that once I had decided to be saved, that the two of us wanted to be baptized together. And with the girls deciding to be saved, we thought would be really awesome if the four of us would be baptized together. So that's
We wanted
exactly what we
five,
did.
but they didn't have one quite right.
That was okay though. So the four of us all linked arms and baptized together.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. Now I'm not who I used to be, because I don't have to be the old man inside of me, 'cause his day is long dead and gone.
When it means to be saved, it means that you know God, and you know that He died for you, and that He died on the cross for our sins. I decided I want to be saved, so the next Thursday,
The next day
the next day
at church in the park.
the next day at church in the park, I told my pastor that I wanted to be saved. So then we said a praise, and then the next Thursday, I'm guessing, we went to our pastor's house, and then we got into the pool, we dunked him into the water, and he brought me back up.
To be, oh God, I'm not who I used to be. Jesus, I'm not who I used to be, 'cause I am redeemed.
So I have a lot of questions and a lot of rebuttals, and so they've been really patient with me and slowly teaching me, and that led to me being spending a lot of time at the church too, and me being more of the technical minded of the guitar playing, I guess, of the praise team. I started getting more into the technical parts of the praise team, and sound and just making sure all that stuff's ready to go. Seems like I've been doing a lot of that, so that was really nice to have being a part of that. And then recently I was approached to start helping with some sermons and researching some sermons, and I thought that was a pretty cool challenge, because not very many people's ever asked me what I thought. Usually they try to tell me to be quiet.
I remember a sermon that Pastor Tom had preached. It was not long after we started going to church. It was about talents and gifts. And I went home crying that day. We were driving home in the car, and Nick asked me why I was crying, what was wrong, and I said, I think I got missed. I don't think I got a gift. I don't think I got a talent. If I did, I don't know what it is. I said, you've got music, and so many other people have so many other talents, and I just don't think I got any talents.
She got the short end, she thought.
And I was discouraged that day, just because I didn't think that I had a gift. And he tried to tell me that, I'm a mother, and I take very good care of my kids, and I teach the kids, and that is my gift, and I could be using that gift in the church somehow. There would have to be some way that I could use it. Nate had put the bug in Nick's ear about maybe me possibly teaching. I had thought about it, but there were so many things that I didn't feel that I knew, or that
You were learning, actually.
I was learning a lot myself. A lot of kids, you get the Bible stories, the Jonah and the whale, David and Goliath, Moses, all those great stories. I didn't know those. things that I probably should have known by my age,
And
but
I
I didn't.
thought that was kind of strange because I knew that from a very young age.
You did, but I thought, how can I teach children these stories and teach them so many important things when I was learning myself? We met and had lunch, and Nate brought the idea to me of being a teacher in the children's church. And
You knew it was coming.
I did have it in the back of my mind. I had already been thinking about it and been praying about it and whether or not it was the right decision for me to make. I left the lunch that day in the meeting, and I left it with telling Nate that I would definitely think about it and I would let him know. You know, I talked to Nick about it, and I talked to my best friend about it, because you know that's what girls do. We talk to our friends about everything. And she made a good point to me that maybe I didn't quite notice. And she said, look at what you've done with your family and your children. She said, you've made such a difference in their life in the last year, in all the changes. You know, you've done so many positive things for your kids. Why would you think for 1 minute that you wouldn't do the same for anyone else's children? And that was nice to hear. To have what Nick and I do with our kids be recognized and so highly praised. And that kind of was the moment where I said, okay, this has got to be the right thing for me to do.